Just want you guys to know I'm glad to be here. This is my second presentation today. Professor Peter believes I did a good job the first time, but I'm a little rusty. And I felt a little rusty because it was my first time ever giving a presentation in a classroom. And I just wanted to make sure that the message was well received, because my message is very important. So, my name is James Minifield. Okay, I know this is Chicano Studies class, and I'm well aware of that, but I also believe that my story is relevant to Chicanos just as much as it's relevant to African Americans, because the struggle is the same. Marginalized people trying to struggle for equality and equal rights in American society, and quite frankly, in a society that pretty much belonged to Mexico in the first place. But I'm not going to get into that. We're not going to get into that. That's too controversial right now. But anyway, if you would have told me 9 months ago that I would be standing here giving a speech on a college campus, I would have looked at you like you were crazy. Now, why do I say that? Because 9 months ago, I was sitting in a prison classroom writing this familial archive essay for Peter, serving a life sentence that was rightly earned. See this picture right here? This picture is the only picture I've ever taken with my father. The only picture. And out of this picture, I'm the only one that's a success story. This young man right here is my cousin Brian. He died about a month and a half ago from a drug overdose. My father is finally out of prison. He's finally out of prison, but he's still imprisoned in his mind, which is unfortunate. But I'm not here to bash anyone. I'm just here to share my story and hope that my story can help you and inspire you to do better for yourselves, do better for your family, do better for your community, do better for your society. So, I was 13 years old when I started my involvement in the criminal justice system. I was incarcerated as a result of violent crimes that I committed while in McLaren Hall, the infamous McLaren Hall in El Monte. All the sexual abuse, the abuse, everything they talk about on the news, I was right there in the middle of it, and I went through it. I was a very angry child. I was abandoned by my mother the day before I turned 13, and the nightmare began shortly thereafter. I was incarcerated in the California Youth Authority, a place with a 93% violent recidivism rate. And what does that mean? That means 9 out of 10 children who were housed in that place eventually committed a violent crime and returned to prison. So deep is this reality, is that everyone that I was incarcerated in a youth authority facility with is either 1, on death row, 2, serving a life sentence, or 3, dead, or 4, heavily addicted to drugs to this day. And yet here I am. College graduate from Chaffey College with a 4.0 GPA. Former valedictorian, currently going to Cal State LA to earn my BA. Here I am. Question becomes, how did that happen? And I'm hoping that by the end of this story, by the end of my presentation, for those of you who either believe in God or don't believe in God or maybe agnostic, I'm hoping that by the end, you will know that God exists, because the only person I can attribute this to is God. It's the only one I can attribute this to, not even myself. That was my mother and I when I was 2 years old. My father, when I was 9 months old, my father went on a violent crime spree and went to prison for all of my life. That was me when I was 2 years old. My mother still had light in her eyes. She still had hope for a future. She was still trying to figure it out. She was still trying to be the best mother she could be. But shortly after that picture was taken, drugs came into the mix. The realities of being a single black woman in the ghetto came into the mix, and my life took a horrible turn. That was my father when I first started my prison term in 2003, a 50 years to life prison term for murder. In that picture, my father was proud to be in that picture. He was proud to be a prisoner. He was proud of his incarceration. He was proud of his status. I know this because he told me that. Now, once again, I'm not saying this to judge. I'm saying this to provide clarity and understanding and background for the familial archive paper that I'm going to share with you. But despite this reality, despite this influence, despite the years of incarceration that I endured, the bad decisions that I made, that was me on May 10th, 2024. 4.0 GPA, class valedictorian, delivering a speech at my graduation. A speech that Peter can tell you is still being talked about to this day. And that is me with the president of Chaffey College. Right after that picture was taken, he whispered in my ear and said, "Young man, I don't know why you came to prison. I don't know why you're here, but I know you don't belong here anymore. You need to do what you have to do to get out because you have a story to tell and society needs to hear it." And that's one of the main reasons I'm here. So in my ethnic studies class with Professor Peter, he asked us to pick an item, one item, and explain how that item played a significant role not only in our individual life, but also how it played a role throughout our family life, and then tie it into the overall experience of our ethnic group in American society. So what I'm about to share with you is the paper I wrote called My Shackled Inheritance. So if you look on the front, there's 4 pictures that were designed to show a progression of history. As you can see, this picture, taken directly from the report written by the California Reparations Task Force, is a picture that depicts African slaves being transported to the market to be shipped to America. As you can see, they have shackles on. This is a picture that depicts African slaves being removed from the slave ship in the port in Virginia. As you can see, they have shackles on. This is a picture of a child in a courtroom being placed in handcuffs. Look at this small, innocent looking child. Does a child belong to have handcuffs on? Like, what can a child do that's so horrible that you need to put cuffs on a child? But that's what the American criminal justice system does. Right? And this is a picture of a California Youth Authority facility where wards who were like myself were deemed violent and dangerous. This is how we spent our time, in a cage, also known as a dog kennel. Between the ages of 13 and 18, I spent 95% of those years in cages like this. It became so horrible. I became such a horrible person, such an angry and violent person, that every time I came out of my cell, I was cuffed like this, with waist chains, my hands behind my back, because they stopped putting them in the front, because I used to have a handcuff key that I would use to get out of my cuffs just to attack people. And they used to have me in leg irons between the ages of 14 and 18. That's how so while most of you were probably in high school figuring out, dealing with the girlfriend, boyfriend, figuring out what to wear to school, figuring out what the prom is gonna look like, who's gonna be the prom king, the prom queen, this was my experience. And this was the experience of a lot of kids who were like me. But I want to, if you wouldn't mind, I would like to share my paper with you.